Hi, it's Martin from Martin's Engine Services. And as promised yesterday and the day before, I'm going to start up my Lister G1 engine. Pretty straightforward engine to start. This, unlike the D showed yesterday, there's no real major maintenance to carry out. Oil wise and grease wise and everything. This engine's pretty straightforward. Just the usual, fill up with water, which it is because I've been running it on and off for the last few days. Check the oil and she's full. It's got a rather nice design of oil filler cap here, the old spring-loaded oil filler cap with the seal built in and everything. A lovely little touch of quality. There are a couple of oil points on the fan here, all the bearings inside there. And when I ran it earlier, I've noticed that the oil appears to be flinging out of the bearing at the back, which should be sealed. So, mind you, it's possible that there's another seal missing. So as I say, a lot of this has been apart and reassembled, but never been run since it's been overhauled. So I don't know what should be there. There are no exploded diagrams to this engine that I can find, so you have to kind of guess a lot of this. The G1 seems to be a bit of an enigma in the stationary engine world, and hardly ever seem to come up for sale. There is actually a G2 for sale, like I've seen recently on Facebook, which you imagine is a fair monster in a 2000cc twin. It's obviously just a duplicate of this and just extended, but very impressive looking engine. So unfortunately funds don't allow at the moment. Still, moving on to the job in hand, or the engine in hand. I have given this a run a little while ago, so she should start straight off the handle, so I shouldn't need to give it any choke. So let's see how she goes. On with the ignition. Handle in position. And she does make quite a bit of noise, so she will be quite impressive when she fires up. And a spectacular backfire there to get things going. And away we go. Well, as you can hear, she did half sound nice. It's a good old thumper. I've got no idea exactly as to whether the carburetor is jetted right for the engine. It does sound like it's running a little lean, actually. So that's something I need to look into. And likewise, I've got no idea, as I say, about how the timing's set up. It was simply all adapted, modified, made to fit, stuck on there. Points gap was guessed, and away it went. So timing position was worked out as near as possible. And it just seemed to work. First time I ever attempted to start it, that's basically how easy it started. Got to be a bit wary, obviously, when you're working in this area, because obviously you've got the coupling whizzing round, you've got voltage here, the fan belt, obviously a nice metal fan whizzing round there. So it's all quite emotionally interesting when you're working on it. So in other words, don't stick your fingers in it. One typical thing that all engines I seem to come across have, of course, is the carburetor sitting directly over the magneto. So any fuel leaks go straight into the high voltage ignition unit, which could be rather interesting, especially if it weeped inside the unit, soaked all the windings, and you went to start it. So imagine it'd be some quite spectacular explosion. Fortunately, we never had anything happen like that, and I really don't want it to. So there we go. It does actually work. Yeah, there's plenty to do to it, as there always is with these things, but fundamentally she's a sweet old engine. I didn't actually paint this. The guy I got it from, I bought it from somebody else who'd done most of the work of cleaning and painting it, and they'd stuck it back together and had never run it. I think I mentioned in a previous video on this engine, it was actually missing a piston ring, which was quite interesting. But I managed to adapt one from something else. And yeah, it's missing quite a few parts, and say information on these is practically sort of there isn't any basically. So a lot of this is kind of guesswork and find what you can and make it fit. So there it is. It does actually go. What I might be doing tomorrow, or maybe Friday, I might drag out my List LD1 diesel, the one with my 2 alternators connected to it. Which is basically my redneck battery charger, and we'll give that a run up, and you can see how that operates. What I'm actually doing at the moment, I'm actually working on the magneto for the PU8 showed yesterday, where I discovered the gasket was actually leaking around here and was working like a musical instrument reading, creating that very impressive whistling sound, which was somewhat annoying on the video. One interesting feature on these engines is this magneto, which is BTH or British Thompson Houston. Actually features quite cleverly. The points actually rotate, and the actual cam of the point stands still. This ring on the outside here is fixed in place and is elliptical in shape, and the points have a contact pad on which follow it, and the points, so if you turn the outside you can see the inside stand still, and vice versa. So it's rather there we go, rather interesting setup. The point gap's easily adjusted with this lock nut arrangement here. You just move the fixed point over, set your gap, and it's a beautifully engineered piece of equipment. And that's exactly how it was, and I've done no cleaning to this whatsoever. I just took the cover off and cleaned it, and you can see the cover's in amazing condition, considering it's sat outside for, I would guess, many years. Oh yes, it's another cup of tea. A lot of you ever watching any of my videos probably think it's always a permanent cup of tea on the bench, and you're probably not far wrong. As he slurps his tea. This PU8 engine, when I collected it, actually had an ant's nest in the exhaust. It had stinging nettles growing through it, various wildlife living everywhere possible, and it was actually missing a spark plug, which had been open to the elements for years, and she still hadn't seized up, and there was no water in the crankcase at all. So it just shows you the quality of these all components and how well everything still works. None of the bolts broke off anywhere, everything came undone. There was very little corrosion to the steel parts. So the only problem it really suffered with was where a little bit of moisture sat in the bores, and had actually rotted the bottom of the bores, which is why it smokes. But otherwise, it just shows you the sheer quality of the metals and components used. I suppose that brings me on to having a quick 5 minute whinge about a few things. Yesterday, I had a little job in, which is a 1969 Morris Minor, which I restored for a gentleman about 7, 8 years ago. And he came in for a little bit of routine work. He likes to have it checked over before the show season, etc. It's a lovely old thing, 2-door in black, which looks really nice. But I was having a little look around and a couple of little repairs for him, and he just fitted about a week ago, or about a month ago, a nice new Lucas sports ignition coil and a nice new electronic distributor. And I noticed that all over the distributor and the cap and the back of the dynamo was oil, and this was actually coming out of the coil. Where they've made this quality component, as we now know, Lucas is made in a far off land, a touch firmer than Birmingham when it was made originally. It was leaking oil around the seal at the top. So I fitted his old coil, which he fortunately kept in the car, put this tatty old thing back on that's probably been on there since the beginning of time, which of course works perfectly, doesn't leak any oil, and it'll probably remain on there and the new one can go back. This continuous problem of poor quality parts is very frustrating. Likewise, on Monday I was helping my uncle fit a door handle to a Fiat 500. Fairly straightforward job. We put the new handle in, which was wrapped in a nice bag in a nice box and very nice and shiny, and we put it on, and they completely failed to thread the end of the handle, where a screw comes in from the end of the door. They drilled the hole, but forgot to put the thread in it. So subsequently I removed the handle, threaded it out, and then put it all back on again. So as long as you've got access to a basic range of machine tools and taps and dies and a reasonably fully equipped workshop, you should be able to fit any component to any vehicle, as long as you want to re-engineer it. Why can't they make these things any good anymore? Even little things on this Petter engine amuse me. I mean, the ends of these plug leads, these little Bakelite fittings here, still in perfectly good condition. The bolts came out. The little carbon brushes are still intact. In fact, I did replace one of these. It's out of a Cortina distributor cap. I kept a few laying around. All these components, perfectly good, perfectly serviceable, nothing wrong with them whatsoever. It just goes to show. Anyhow, that's my bit of whinging and moaning about modern stuff over. So I should go back to tinkering with old stuff, which just seems to work. Hope you've enjoyed this video and seeing the Lister G1 in action. I'll say I might get the Lister LD1 out. It's a bit of a mission to get it out of the shed, and she's a heavy old lump, so it'll take a bit of manhandling to get it up here. So please like and subscribe. It's totally free to do so, and it really helps my numbers on YouTube as I'm trying to build this channel up. A lot of what I post is just what I enjoy and things that amuse me and what I'm tinkering around with, but I hope you'll get something out of it. So again, thanks very much indeed for watching, and bye for now.